joining on a Thursday night. I'm excited to teach you some of the little tricks that I do around my house and, for my family cooking. I used to cook a little bit more than I do today, but I do feel that after a few years of being a mother, and having to, definitely serve food to my family, I've found some ways to make it easier for myself and to, find quick hacks to not only serve food quicker and more efficiently, but also save money at the same time. So one thing that I love to do is to actually buy an entire chicken and find different ways to use every single part of the chicken. So I'm going to teach you how to do all that tonight. First, what I'd like to do is take a chicken and spatchcock it. Spatchcocking means that you take out the backbone and you flatten out the chicken so that the breast and the legs are all on one level so that you can spread it out and it's not going to be like a bit rounder and it cooks a little bit more evenly. I just discovered this recipe just probably a month ago and I really liked it because it only required one pot to cook the whole thing. So A, I had less of a mess to clean up, and B, it was really delicious and really easy to put together. So I'm going to go into that because I want to put that on the stove so that it cooks while I'm teaching you how to break apart a chicken and use all the meat. So over here in this Pyrex measuring cup, I have some really like gelatinous chicken stock. I actually use this. I got this chicken stock from. It was on Sunday. Actually, we had some friends over to watch football. Well, my husband was watching football, and what I did was I wanted to make chicken wings to go with the theme of our gathering. And in my recipe that I love using is Alton Brown's baked chicken wings. And what it requires you to do is to steam the chicken before you actually bake them in order to, get them cooked first. And so what I do is I put it in an Instant Pot and steam it for 20 minutes and they're ready to go. And this was the actually liquid at the bottom of the Instant Pot after we had steamed the chicken. And so I thought, well, I should just save that because I could probably do something with it. And I'm so glad that I did, because for this spatchcock one pot chicken rice dish, you do need liquid. It says to add water, but instead of water, I will add a little bit of water, but instead of adding, the entire thing of water, I decided to use that gelatinous chicken stock. It's obviously very flavorful and it will give, a bit more flavor to the dish. So I've added some tomato paste to give it, a little bit more color and flavor. And I have the water boiling right now. So the recipe requires, it's 2 cups of basmati that I have washed here and rinsed. You always want to wash basmati or any rice before you use it to get the starch out. And what I'm going to do is I require 5 cups of liquid. And I just filled this up. This is 4 cups. So I'm going to fill this up to the 4 cup. And then I'm going to do another cup of water before we add it all into there. So, and one thing that I wanted to mention is this is a really casual, interactive class. The objective of this class is simply to really learn. I don't want it to be formal. So anytime you have a question, you are all muted in order to make everything go smoothly. However, please put in any questions you may have into the chat and somebody will ask. We don't have to wait till the end of class to ask questions. Just, if anything comes up, if any questions come up, ask. So as I put the hot water in it, you can see that the gelatinous stock is now liquefied, which is what I wanted. And in the tomato paste, excuse me, I'm actually going to add some spices. I pre-measured them just for ease. This recipe, it's actually a Iraqi Jewish recipe, and it's made for the Sabbath. I just came across it. It requires some Middle Eastern spices. This one's called baharat, and it's a 7-spice blend. It has things like coriander, cumin, cinnamon, allspice, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. And I actually just bought this at the co-op this past weekend. It's by this really great brand that I'm really into lately. It's called Burlap and Barrel. I've bought a number of their spices, so I definitely would check that out. I love the spices at the co-op. I think that's one of the best things among many of, the reasons why I shop there. So I added 1.5 teaspoons of the barat spice, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and then 1 teaspoon of sumac. And this is a really flavorful dish. So I'm going to add this. And then it also requires some pomegranate molasses. This is also going to add a little bit of more sour flavor to it that I think will really, work out well in this dish. Like I said, I made it over a month ago and I really loved the flavor and I knew that it was something that I would make again. So we've got some pomegranate molasses. And then lastly, a few days ago, I just took a few bulbs of garlic and just chopped them up. I was using them for a few recipes. And I have it saved in olive oil, which is the only way that you're supposed to save garlic. So I'm just going to dump this whole thing in there because I need to add olive oil to the recipe as well. And so you might as well just add this whole thing. So I'm going to put this all in here and mix it up. Obviously, the garlic is really like whatever your preference is. The recipe requires several cloves, but if you're a little bit sensitive to that type of taste, then, there's no obligation to add more. So I've mixed this, and next what we're going to do is we're going to spatchcock the chicken so that you can see what we're going to do. So basically, I have lined this Le Creuset Dutch oven with onions just to lift the chicken up from the bottom. I don't know, it's just something I learned 15-20 years ago and I just continue to do it. I don't know if it's effective, but the onions are very delicious after it's all been cooked. So that's another incentive. So I've sliced up an onion. I'm going to get the chicken. We're going to spatchcock it. We're going to place it on there and then we're going to pour the rice all around it. And I'm going to take all the liquid and pour that around it. And we put it on the stove. And that's literally it. So it's fairly, tool free. Like you don't need to have a ton of, pots and pans, which I really appreciate. So I'm going to take this and put this here so you can see what the chicken looks like when you're cutting it up. If you can't see, please let me know. I'm going to grab this. So this is my favorite chicken at the co-op. I really favor Snow Dance chicken. I don't know if any of you have a favorite, but that's definitely mine. It's a small farm. They've got great quality products. And I love them. I follow the farm on Instagram as well. I'm a big fan. I hope I get to visit them one day. So basically, when you're spatchcocking a chicken, this is the backbone of the chicken. This is where you find the little tail. And effectively, you want to just cut this whole backbone out so you can flatten the chicken. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you really do need a scissor for this. Because otherwise you're not going to be able to get through it. This scissor, I just realized while I was prepping for this class, really needs to be sharpened. Unfortunately, it's not as sharp and easy as I hoped it would be. But basically, you just want to take the scissors and basically I should show you. So this is the tail. So you want to go on either end of the tail. So I'm going to cut it on the right of the tail and on the left of the tail in order to get the backbone out. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you go a little bit, too far left or right, it's not gonna really matter. So I cut this part and then I'm just gonna cut this. And again, I'm gonna go right to the left of the tail. And then this backbone, I'm gonna definitely use for chicken, to make chicken broth. And I'm going to teach you all about that as well. So this is not going to go to waste. We will be using this for another use. I really need to get these scissors sharpened. Okay, so we're going to save this. We're going to save it for a chicken stock. I'm going to put this here. So now what you see here is flattened the bird. I'm going to take this fat off as well. Probably don't need it. And so this is what it means to spatchcock a chicken. So we're just going to tuck in the wings. This is all flattened out, and I'm just going to place it into the Le Creuset like this. I'm going to grab the rice. I'm going to pour it around the chicken.
Nina, we had a question from user
Yes.
Sari. She asked, or they asked, what does sumac taste like when you were preparing the spices earlier?
It's really sour.
Oh,
And Sari, I will bring some to our party on Saturday so you can try it.
thank you.
Oh, one thing I did forget was to salt this. Let me just wash my hands really quick and I'll be right back.
For everybody who's just now joining in or has come in a little late, this is Nina Fatahi's class, Chicken Deconstructed, where we're learning to work with the whole chicken, break it down, learn to make stock, learn to cook and braise, and make a whole bunch of delicious things. So thank you so much for joining the Food Co-op cooking class.
So one thing I forgot to do is to add salt. I'm just going to add some salt to this. And then lastly, we're going to add the liquid to this so that it can cook within the hour. So again, this is the chicken stock with all the flavorful spices that we've added. I'm just going to pour it over. And then I need to add another cup of spice, another cup of liquid because they asked for 5. This is only 4. Oh, just going to measure this out, and then I'm just going to put it on the stove. And so the plan is for this to cook while I show you everything else. So hopefully you can see what the end result looks like. It's a really basic meal. And if you just make some vegetables or a salad on the side, it's really, really nice. And you know, you can really, one thing I always try to talk about with cooking is you really can add whatever flavor profile that you'd like. If you'd like to make this a Greek meal, feel free to add oregano and some other, parsley and some other spices. Or if you want to make it Indian, you could add curry. So you really shouldn't limit yourself. Or for instance, if you wanted to make it, Asian profile, you can also think about adding 5-spice powder. I was actually thinking about making it a Hainanese chicken. Chicken rice is one of my favorite foods, but I decided that this was just a little bit easier. So I'm just going to put this here. So let's talk about basically butchering a chicken. So buying a chicken whole is far less expensive than purchasing all the different parts of a chicken, because obviously they charge you for the processing time that it takes to do all that. So for instance, I'm talking about, organic prices of chicken that, normally you'll find. Chicken breast is usually $9 a pound. The thighs and legs is around $6 or $7. Obviously, everywhere is different depending on where you're buying it, what kind of chicken you're buying. Chicken wings, $6 or $7. If you want to buy chicken broth, the little containers, $5 or $6. So what I find is that buying a whole chicken is not only economical because you're paying, well, at the co-op, the Sundance chicken is, I think, around $5.50, $6 a pound. But I bought that entire chicken for between $20 to $25. So with that $20 to $25, you're going to be making chicken wings, chicken breasts, something with chicken breasts. So you could, we'll go into that. Chicken thighs and legs, you can have a meal from that. From there, I will take the carcass and make a chicken broth. And I love doing that because I always have chicken broth in my freezer. And so whenever we're sick, which unfortunately happens to be very often, I will have, a stash in my freezer that I'll just put on the stove, add some vegetables and pasta, and we've got a chicken soup. And then what I really love is to take the carcass after it's been, stewing for about 24 hours. I really like to, make it like the broth really rich and collagen filled. I'll take the carcass, take all the meat off of it, which is quite substantial actually. And we'll make chicken salad. My favorite chicken salad is to put raisins, apples, and mayonnaise, mayo, and some curry powder. My family loves it, and I've made just a lunch a chicken salad lunch from the chicken stock. I take it one step further and I make crispy chicken skin. I just made some today as I was prepping. I'll just bring it over. So this is a huge favorite in our family. So this is just crispy chicken skin. I just put some Maldon salt on top. And my daughter, she came home from school and this plate was full and she ate half of it until I had to stop her because I wanted to be able to show everybody what the crispy chicken skin was like. It's really tasty. Obviously it's not something you're going to have every day, but you know, once every few months where I have, you know, chickens that I'm cutting up and butchering, this is a nice treat to have. And then from there, the fat. So for instance, this fat, which, you know, is effectively useless, you just throw this out. But instead, what I do is I render the chicken fat and I put it in a container. So I always have some on hand. For instance, when I make the Hainanese chicken rice, which is one of our family's favorite, they want you to fry the raw rice, like the uncooked rice, in chicken fat. So there I have this. You can always freeze it and save it. You can roast potatoes in the oven with it. So basically the entire chicken gets used. So I'm going to now show you how to butcher a chicken, and then we'll go in after I've cut everything up and I'll show you how I organize everything. I will show you, you know, how it goes into my freezer. So for instance, this is what I did earlier today. So this is, I have the date, I put January 2024. And so this is like one breast of one chicken. So we have 2 pieces of chicken. We have a small family size. So this is plenty for at least one meal. So I got 2 of those because I butchered 2 chicken today. Here's a bag of chicken wings. And this is I'm going to add some more chicken wings to this so that we'll have 1 complete meal of chicken wings. I have 6 thighs and legs here. You know, that's a good size for our family. I'm going to put this in the freezer. And then here is the carcass and the neck, because this chicken comes with the neck with it, and the wing tips and the carcass, the backbones. This is going to go into the freezer where when I have time, I'm going to be making a chicken broth with it. If you have the time when you're butchering chicken, you can obviously don't have to freeze it. You can just put it right in the pot, put an onion, carrots, celery, some, you know, aromatics like, for instance, peppercorn, thyme, rosemary, lemongrass, ginger, garlic, and just put it in a pot and cook that. And you've got your stock. After I've done that, what I do is I take big jars and I put the stock in there and I skim the fat I put it in the fridge. And then the next day I'll skim the fat and then take that liquid, which is quite gelatinous. It's quite impressive. I'll take that and put it into Ziploc containers and then I'll put it back in the freezer and it saves me a lot more space. And I'll show you what that looks like.
Nina, while you go to the freezer, we have another question from the chat, and that is, can you use a pre-cooked rotisserie chicken to make soup or stock, or does it need to be raw?
You can definitely use rotisserie chicken,
Okay,
but you really need more than one. I mean, if you're making a small pot, like I usually use a huge, like a lobster stock pot to make my broth because I use a lot of different carcasses for it. So I want to make sure I'm maximizing. But yeah, I mean, normally like the most traditional chicken broth recipe, you're using like, you know, bones, like meat, like fat, and you want to have that all to make like a really nice flavor profile. However, that being said, I would absolutely use a rotisserie chicken. I know that my family, my mom, she will always take the carcass of our Thanksgiving turkey and make stock from that too. So I would not throw that away. It's a great way to use that. So this is what I do. I'll just so I made this on January 6th. I'll put the date on it and then I'll put it in the freezer. So I've got a number of these stacked up. So this is just I just like tear open the plastic, just put it in a pot. And a few minutes later, you've got homemade chicken broth that you can add whatever you'd like to make soup. So this is how I do that. So does anyone have any questions before I go into actually cutting up the chicken? So I'm gonna put this out of the way. I'll put the broth in the freezer again.
We
I'll be
do
right
have
back.
another question.
One moment.
Sure.
Okay.
The question is, have you ever roasted the chicken bones before making a stock? And would you recommend that?
Yeah, you can definitely do that. But I think, like I said, it's just like taking the carcass of a Thanksgiving turkey after you've, baked it, after you've roasted it, and you're able to do that. But with chicken, you're going to need a few of those because it's not as large. So if you've got a few chickens and you've got the carcass, you could definitely make broth. I do think it's better if you have raw carcass, and because you've got the fat on there, and like, the bones haven't been roasted, and they're fresh. So if I had to choose, I'd choose that, but I wouldn't hold back on making broth with an already baked chicken. So I'm gonna go into how to take apart chicken. So it really makes a difference, the tools that you have to do this, because using like for instance, using a chef's knife, it's quite large and it's really difficult to maneuver. This is a traditional chicken knife. You'll see that it's quite narrow and long, so it's really easy to get in there. This is also another one. This is a deboning knife. But what I noticed with this is this gets pretty slippery. So I'm just going to use this. A scissor is also a great tool to use. Unfortunately, these two scissors that I have aren't as sharp as I'd like. So I'm just going to stick with this. This is really inexpensive. I bought it at a kitchen culinary shop in town, and it was probably like $10 or $15. So you don't have to, especially for something you don't use that often. It's not like an everyday chef's knife or a paring knife. You can definitely get something that's not expensive, but you really do want something that is made for this activity. This is called Cutlery Pro, and the shop that I went to really recommended it. They said that it's a really effective knife. So I always put a large bowl next to it, because I'm gonna want to put all the pieces in there before I go and put it into the Ziploc bags. So I always have this, and as you see, it's such a messy thing. I hate the fact that now I have to go and disinfect everything, because I did touch this jar, I touched this jar as well. So you just want to make sure that after you've handled your chicken, you go back and disinfect everything to prevent any sort of salmonella or anything. But it is kind of messy, but I do think that it's really worth it. So here we go. This is our chicken. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take out this. This is a pile for the chicken stock. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go around and take out the fat. And again, as you know, I do render this and make chicken grease with it. So we've got a lot here. And what you always want to start with are the chicken wings. So I'm gonna turn the chicken around. And what you're going to realize is the chicken is really easy to take apart if you focus on all the joints. And what's really amazing is that the joints are are identified by the layers of fat. So I'll show this to you. So over here, you want to take the chicken and cut it right. This is the underarm of the chicken, let's say. If this was, like this. This is underneath, the chicken's flapping. Sorry, I thought it would be funny. And so you would go here and just slit just enough where you could see where the joint is. So we see here, I can't see it that well. You see here that the joint is going to be here. And you want to take this and just quickly go and cut it like that. So now we have this joint bone, and it should easily cut through. And you want to just come around, and you've easily cut the wing off. So you've got one chicken wing, And this, whatever you cut off from here is actually the breast. So the chicken wing is attached to the breast. If you turn it around, you'll see this is the breast meat. So again, we're gonna cut here. We're gonna cut right underneath the underarm, and we're just going to just cut all the way around. And there you have two wings. The way I like to butcher, so I like to keep these wing tips, I like to put into the chicken broth pile. So I'm just going to easily cut through here. And I'm going to put it in this pile. And obviously, for this, you have two, this is considered the wing, this is the drumstick. You just cut right in half here. And as you cut it, you just always want to look where the joint bone is. And if you cut right next to the joint, you'll see that it just easily goes right through. So you see that that was effortless. I'm going to put this in here. And then you see, so I want to look here. Okay, we've got some feathers. And we just cut right through there. As you can see, like it was really easy. This is the joint. It was perfect. So next we're going to go to cut the thighs off. So this is where it's a great example of where you're going to see the fat. So you're going to just cut into this right here, and you're just going to cut the skin. You're not going to cut the meat. You're just going to cut the skin because you want to see where that joint is. So if you look here, you'll see that there is fat. The fat lines where you want to go. You don't want to cut anywhere else. So you're just going to cut here. And now you've got a great example. Okay, so now you see the leg, and you want to make sure that you cut around this area. So this over here is considered like it's called the oyster part of the chicken. And this goes right, here's the backbone, and this is the piece that most people want to definitely capture within the leg because it's quite delicious and tender. It's like considered the filet mignon of the chicken. So you want to hold this like this, and you want to cut around it. So we've got this, and then you just go straight through. I'm gonna just, one moment, I'm gonna lower the stove a little bit. Heat was on too high. I don't want to burn my rice and chicken. So we've got one here, and you see here that the joint was right here. And then we go to the second one, we turn it around, and we just cut right here. As you see that it just comes off really easily. It's definitely really intimidating. Like, even though I've done this so many times, I still get nervous, especially in front of an audience right now. But I definitely, I used to time myself when I first started a few years ago. It would take me like 20 minutes to do this. And now it's about 5 minutes. And I know that I could get faster, but I just don't do it enough. I'm not a butcher. I don't do it enough to really become super speedy. But, I think 5 minutes is pretty fair. So we've got these, and the way you want to see what you're doing. So over here, you'll notice like a little bit of fat, and you always want to go to the right. Well, you want to go to the right of the thigh bone. So you want to go to the right on the actual drumstick, and you just cut straight through. So it really doesn't take a lot of effort. You've got two pieces there. And again, here's the fat line, and I'm going to go to the right of the fat line and just cut right through. And I've got these pieces. Another thing is I like to make, as you saw, that I like to make the chicken skin. So that comes from the actual breast. So I take the chicken skin off the breast because I also freeze the breast, and I don't necessarily would never cook the skin after. So I just take off the skin before I take off the breast, off the carcass. So I'm just going to cut this up like this. So on this call, is there anybody that already knows how to butcher a chicken? I'd love to get a show of hands to understand, who's been doing this and if I've, been able to be a little bit more helpful. So this is now we've got the backbone and we've got the two breasts. So this is for me the hardest part actually. But again, you've got this fat line here. So you just want to cut along the fat line. That's where you start. So this is how you do it. So I'm going to start here. I'm just going to cut short, cut very gently like this, just right to the right of the fat line. And this is going to cut the breast off of the backbone, the entire breastbone. So, and since I actually, cook the carcass after and use the chicken, use the meat to make chicken salad, I'm not that concerned with getting every morsel onto the chicken breast because nothing gets wasted. Obviously, if I was a butcher and I needed to sell this chicken breast by weight, then clearly I would want to be a little bit more, precise with my cutting. But since I will end up using, so I cut off the breast. We've got one breast right here. And again, this is all extra stuff. A butcher would obviously take this off much better than I have. But since this will go into the stock and then I will use the meat on here to make chicken salad, then it's not a problem for me. So I'm gonna again start here. We're gonna just go, I'm gonna start here to the right of the fat line. Are there any questions while I'm doing this? There's only so much I can say about cutting meat, I think.
I have one. Is the skin that you have set aside there, is that the skin that you made crispy chicken skin from?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, not the whole
wow.
thing. I'll show you when I'm done with cutting this open, I'll show you what part of the skin becomes, and I can probably just make some. We have a bit of time, so I can probably demonstrate how to make that. So again, I'm just really gently removing the breast from this bone here. This oh. And here we go. So here's what we're left with. I'm going to put this in my pile for the chicken broth. As you see, there's a ton of meat on there, and that's why I get to make the chicken stock. And here we've got two breasts. So I'm going to be adding these to the bags that you saw earlier. And then here's just to demonstrate. So this is the skin that would make that crispy chicken that I mentioned. But then here you see that there's a lot of fat. I'll be taking this all off because, you want to make sure that they're all like uniform in basically in thickness so that they cook at the same time. So I'll be cutting this off because this is just pure fat. So this stuff, I'll be putting it in a pan and slowly the fat's going to render, and I would get this container here of the chicken fat. And again, I mentioned you can make that, you can roast potatoes in it. It'll be quite flavorful. And then this skin, I just put it on a cast iron pan, like a lodge, and I just place it on flat. I don't put it on too high because it can burn. And then you turn it over as you see that, like, it's got a nice color to one side. And then a few minutes later, you've got crispy chicken skin and then the fat also renders on that too. So I do add the fat to this jar as well. And then you just add some Maldon salt, or if you like certain flavors, like if you want to be more creative, maybe you can take za'atar spice and just sprinkle it on there just to add something. I think tajin would be really good too, actually, tajin. Like the Mexican spice with the chili and the salt and the lime on it. Like, I think anything really goes, but if you just like to have it plain, I think that the Maldon salt is the best. So I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to go wash my hands, and then we're going to talk about the different recipes that actually, I'm not gonna wash my hands because I'm gonna be showing this. Okay. So the chicken breasts. So I normally, for a family our size, I will freeze these two together in a bag and I'll defrost it like 24 hours in advance most of the time if I've thought my plan out well. Otherwise, I will put it in the sink in a bowl and just run water on it until it's defrosted. That happens probably more than I'd like to admit. And there's a few different things I can do with the breasts. My family likes, my daughter especially loves, chicken strips type of thing. So what I'll do is I'll take this chicken breast, I'll put my hand on top of it, and I would take, not this knife, I would take a chef's knife, and I'm not going to demonstrate. And you want to make sure that you keep a uniform pressure on this, and then you just go in the middle, and then miraculously, that technique gives you equal size, equal thickness chicken. It's really cool how that works, but you definitely want to make sure that your hands here and the knife's here and you cut through. I'll put it in an egg wash, and then I'll get usually I like to use panko breadcrumbs, and then I'll add different spices. I'll add paprika, garlic powder, definitely need to add salt, and then I will often add Parmesan cheese to it, either fresh grated or Parmesan from Costco, I guess. And then I'll put it, you could obviously fry it, but we try to minimize, the frying in my house. And also I hate the smell of just fried food. So we've got a convection air fryer toaster oven that we have. And so I'll just lay it out and then we'll have, and within 20 minutes, we'll have really nice, crispy chicken strips that, we eat with a salad on the side, vegetable, whatever you'd like. Or another thing that I used to do a lot when I was single and had to just cook for myself, I would cut this up into like little cubes, and then I would marinate it. I was living in France at the time, so the most popular, marinade that people used was olive oil, balsamic vinegar, herb de Provence spice, which you can find at the co-op, and some, if I didn't mention, Dijon mustard, and salt, and I would mix it up. I would just put all the chicken breasts in there, and then, I would just come to the fridge and take out a little bit and eat it with salad. So that was a great, lunch or dinner idea. You can also put these in stew. Once you can chop it up and put in stew. The great thing is you don't have to decide what you want to do with this meat before you freeze it. You can just freeze it like this. And then when you defrost it, you can choose what you want. Next, my family prefers dark meat. We don't love the breasts, but I think the two methods that I mentioned are great ways to, prepare chicken so that it's not chicken breast, that it's not dry. So we
Nina,
will often. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I wanted to bring up a question from the chat. Do you ever separate specifically about the chicken breast?
Okay.
Do you ever separate the tender? And
I do.
also,
Yes.
what
Yep,
do you do
I should have
about
mentioned.
the muscle, the tendon that's in the breast? What do you do
So what I would do is I would just separate this. This would be its own little chicken tender. And then I would cut this in half and make this.
Okay.
So
Thank
yeah,
you.
definitely. Great question. So with the chicken, you can do a lot of different things to it. One great idea is the simplest idea I would say is to just pop them in a Dutch oven, like if you have a Le Creuset, or you can put it in an Instant Pot, which I know a lot of people use, or even a slow cooker. If you leave in the morning, just put the meat in the device of the slow cooker and just pour a jar of salsa on it. That's literally it. And just probably add a little bit of salt for flavoring. You can add, like frozen corn. If you want to add some more flavor, you can get like the cans of green chili, or if you want to add some, let's say, any other vegetables that you can think of, any like jalapenos or, peppers or carrots, you just add it all and then pour the jar of salsa and just cook it. You can do that in the Dutch oven. That would probably take 45 minutes to cook max. And you can add it to, a salad, or you can have tacos, or you could just have it with rice and with some vegetables. So that's one great option. Or you can braise it. You can just add some water to the Dutch oven. You just put it on, you add some water and then add some flavoring, some spices, and then 40 minutes later, you've got really tender, nice chicken legs and breasts. Another thing my husband loves is he loves to fry them. They're not really fried, but it's his own personal recipe called Dada chicken that my daughter loves. And I love it when he makes it because that means that I'm not cooking for the night. And so what he does is he's the videographer. What he does is he'll put either coconut oil or avocado oil, something with a high smoke point. You don't want to use olive oil because it does have a lower smoke point. You don't want to get the temperature too high, but he will put that on in the Dutch oven. And then once it is hot, he will place these pieces in there. I don't know, it's like technique, but I think it's, would you mind coming over and telling us what the temperature, the minutes are? Come over.
Yeah, so you let it cook for 2 minutes, 2 minutes on high.
2 minutes on high, okay.
And you get a nice sear on it, and then meanwhile your oven should be preset to roast to 425. So you go high on 2 minutes, turn it down after 2 minutes to like medium low. Let it cook for another, I think, let's say 6-7 minutes. And then after that, you take it off the stove, you put it in the oven, and this is all skin side down. Put it in the oven for about 12 minutes. I think 400, 425. You pull it out after 12 minutes, you flip them over, and let it cook for like another 5 minutes or so. So that's what I like.
And that's it. And it's really good. So
Yeah.
I recommend that recipe.
Nina, I
and
just want to
then-
jump in super fast. I'm sorry. It's 8:17 just to give you a time checkup.
Thank
Chicken.
you. I think we're almost done.
You're doing
Um,
amazing. I'm having a great time.
Thank you. So then we have the chicken wings. So I mentioned earlier, Alton Brown has a great chicken wing recipe. It's really simple. You steam the chicken wings and then you put them in the fridge to dry out the skin so that you can get a crispy crust. Ideally, you would do this the night before and give it, a good 12 to 24 hours uncovered to really dry out the skin. And then we have like I mentioned, an air fryer convection toaster oven, but you can put it in the oven and you just put it on 425 and cook it for 20 to 30 minutes, flip them over and you get a really crispy chicken. I will admit it is not as good as like, fried chicken wings if you go to like a bar, but we've got to temper expectations. They are baked. However, the flavor is still fantastic. And then what you do is you warm up butter with the Frank's Red Hot sauce and garlic and salt, and then you mix it all in together. So that's what we always do with the chicken wings. I'll just save them, and once we have like enough for a meal, I'll just keep on adding it to the bag. That's what I'll make. And then again, as I mentioned, I always take the carcass, I'll freeze it and keep it in the freezer until I have time to actually make the broth. I will add the wingtips, which was the little end of the chicken wing, which is right here. Just basically anything you have. This chicken comes with its neck. I add this to it. There's a farm locally that I do buy chicken at, but it's only in season in the summer. And then when I do go there, they also sell the chicken feet, which is excellent for, if you're looking for collagen. And obviously the way you prepare chicken feet, I've learned, is that you boil it in hot water for about 5 minutes so that all the, gross dirtiness comes out. And then you take it out and then you scrape off any like hard bits, obviously like their feet, they don't wear shoes, so they're going to have some calluses. And then you take scissors and then you cut off all the nails, and then I'll freeze them. That's how I prepare it. Or if I'm going to put it in the stock pot, I'll just add them to the stock pot after they've been washed and cleaned and, the nails come off. And then I'll typically like to spend about 24 hours, cooking this, because I think the longer it cooks, the more flavorful it gets. And just to me, the more nutritious. So I'll add, whole onion. You can leave the skin on to get more color. I'll add an entire head of garlic. I'll add thyme, rosemary, or if I want, like, I'll do lemongrass and ginger for a different flavor profile, peppercorns, bay leaves. And what I'll do is just, and I think what you can do is really put it in like an Instant Pot or a crock pot as well. I got rid of my crock pot because I never used it. So I don't mind just shutting it off, putting it in the fridge, and then starting again the next day. Obviously, you can't leave your stove on for 24 hours. So that's how I prepare it. And again, not to be a broken record, I just want to go from front top to bottom. I take the carcass after it's all been cooked, I strain it all, put it through a colander to get all the like herbs out. And then I'll put them in the broth in jars to be later bagged and put in the freezer. And then whatever meat is left over, I will take it apart, add apples and raisins. You can add walnuts or pecans and add mayonnaise and if like whatever seasoning, like I really like curry, we'll put some curry in there. And my daughter just will eat that for 3 days because she loves it so much. So it's an easy lunch option for her. And obviously if your child doesn't like curry, you don't have to add curry either. So that's basically, to me, like the way that you can truly use every single part of the chicken. And as you can see, like, you get to have crispy chicken skin and it's delicious. And you get chicken fat that you can roast your potatoes in. So to me, it's a win-win and it's really economical. I'm going to check this dish to see the rice and the chicken to see what it looks like. I have to wash my hands first. Actually, I'm going to just grab a paper towel and so let's see. I smell it. It smells really good. Oh, and it looks fantastic. So this is what it looks like now. So we haven't had dinner yet. I'm sure my husband's starving, but this is our chicken and rice dish for the evening and it's all ready. So it's a great way to, if you don't have time, if you're like working on homework with your children and you just need to like, not be like cooking for an hour actively, this is a great thing to just put on the stove and come back to it after your like homework is done or whatever, and then you can have dinner ready. So that's it. That is Chicken Deconstructed by Nina. Does anyone have any questions that I can answer?
We had a question earlier that was also was answered by someone within the chat. Can you make your stock with a frozen chicken carcass or do you need to defrost it?
Yeah, so what I do, that's a great question. So honestly, you could just put it in the pot and fill it with water and just use it like that. But for some reason, I don't know why, like, I don't know if it's based on anything. I'll just put it on a sheet pan and roast it in the oven for a little bit and just like kind of break it all apart. And I like to give it a little bit of color, but I don't know, unless somebody can answer that question for us, if that's necessary. Is it an extra step that's not necessary? It tends to be what I do.
Thank you. We had another question. If you're in a pinch and you don't have, like, say, a back stock of beautifully prepared chicken stock, is there a preferred like store brand or bouillon that you could recommend?
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, this Co-op has like a jar of bouillon that it's like it's a little jar and you can just scoop out a teaspoon and mix it with water.
The better than bouillon, yes, I love that.
Yeah, I don't love it personally. Sorry,
Yeah, it's
Amanda.
okay.
I'm just, as you guys can tell, like I do spend a lot of time cooking and like doing things from scratch, which is really annoying because I spend a lot more time on it than I'd like to. Life would be a lot easier otherwise. But yeah, I find that those are very salty and it has a little bit of an artificial flavor. I'm not saying that I would never use it. I would absolutely use it, but I don't prefer it. But what I have been doing lately is, because we have been sick a lot and we do need soup a lot more often than I can make it, is Costco has organic chicken broth in, these like containers. And obviously it's really cost effective and it's organic. And I always have like a box of that in my basement so that we have something on hand And normally I always opt for low sodium as well.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I don't see other questions in the chat. This class was amazing. Again, everyone who's here, this is Nina Fatahi with Chicken Deconstructed. And I'm so impressed to just see that get broken down in such a clear way. I really enjoyed it. You can find more of Nina's cooking on Super Delicious with Nina at Instagram, on Instagram. And you can find more of the Food Co-op Cooking Squad stuff on Food Co-op Cooks on Instagram. Thanks so much, everyone who joined us. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.